This is your Chapter 6 review check, and we are taking problems from the chapter review. In 8, 9, and 10, we want to write each ratio as a fraction reduced to lowest terms. So we're going to take and change this to 9 over 24. So it would look like that. And then we need to reduce our fraction. Both 9 and 24 are divisible by 3, so we're going to get 3/8. This will be written as 20 over 35, both divisible by 5, and we get 4/7. And 15 over 20, again, both divisible by 5, so we would get 3 over 4 here. Moving on to number 12. Write as a rate unit. What you want to do here is it's 150 miles in 3 hours, or 150 miles per 3 hours. So we want to take that 150 and divide it by 3. What we're doing is essentially making a fraction of 150 over 3. And that will go in 50 times. So my rate unit is 50 miles per hour. Do the same thing here, 9.45 over 5. So that over that. And so I'm going to take my 9.45 and divide it by 5. 44, bring down the 5. And don't forget your decimal there. So we get $1.89 per pound. And the only reason why there's not something sitting right here in this area is because the top unit is the dollar, and it sits in front of the number there. So $1.89 per pound. Here we had the miles before the slash, but here the dollar sign is out in front of the number. So 270 divided by 3 would be 90. 27 divided by 3 is 9, and it's 270. So 90 words per minute is our rate unit there. So write a fraction and then reduce your fraction or do the division to end up with a unit, a whole number. Proportions, we're going to cross multiply. So we have 5 times 42 equals 6 times n. Now you can multiply the 5 times the 42, but I see something. I see that 6 goes into 42 7 times. And so that would give me 35 equals n. Now just to prove to you that it would work, if you did the 5 times 42, 10 carry the 1, 21, and then you would have 210 divided by 6. It would go in 3 times, 18. And then that would be a 3 and 0, and you would get that 35. But I noticed the 42 was divisible by 6. So 53x equals 2 times 18. And so we get x equals 2 times 18 is 36. I'm going to need to divide this. 36 divisible by 53. Not 55, 53. So I tried 7. 7 was too big. I'm going to try 6. 6 times 3 is 18. Carry the 1. 6 times 5 is 30 plus 1 is 31. And then subtracting here, 10 minus 8 is 2. 5 minus 1 is 4. And let's try 7. 7 times 3 is 21. Carry the 2. 35 plus 2 is 37. That would be a 9 and a 4. It doesn't divide evenly, but it says round to the nearest tenth. So I had to go out to the 100th in order to figure out where to round. And so because that's a 7, the 6 is going to round up. On this one, I have 30a equals 15 times 98. And again, I'm seeing 30 and 15 15 is times 2 is 30, so I can reduce that. So I end up with A equals 98 over 2. 98 divided by 2 is 49. And there's the division for that. So A is 49. Down here, we have similar figures. So this 20 and 30 are in the same position. And then the 30 and X are in the same position. And notice this 20 and this 30, the top of the fractions both come from the smaller rectangle and the bottom of the fractions come from the larger rectangle. So cross multiply, I would get 20 times X equals 30 times 30. So I can cancel one of my zeros. So I end up with 30 times 3, which is 90 over 2. 90 divided by 2 is 45. Here it is longhand. There you go. The 21 and 15 are in the same position. And the X and 25 are in the same position. Again, notice the 21 and X come out of the same triangle and the 15 and 25 come out of the same triangle. Cross multiplying, I get 15 times X equals 21 times 25. I am not going to multiply yet. I'm going to divide because I see some things that I can do to reduce my fraction. 15 and 21 are both divisible by 3. And then 5 and 25 are both divisible by 5. And so you can see there, I ended up with X being 7 times 5 or 35. I ended up with a pretty easy little multiplication just by canceling. For probability, suppose that you choose one letter at random from the letters in the word exponent. Find the probability of each event. So the probability that you pull a P, first of all, let's count the number of letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 letters all together. Only one of those is a P. So your probability is 1 out of 8. And then the probability of pulling in, there's 2 N's out of 8, which would be 1/4. The probability of getting a vowel, there's 1, 2, 3 of those out of the 8, and that won't reduce. In this section, you are asked to change the percent to both a fraction and a decimal, and I had you do the decimal first. So to do the decimal, you drop the percent and move the decimal 2 to the left. So on this one, I'm going to need that. And so that's what those would look like. Now, from the decimal, it's easy to write it as a fraction. And the percent sign literally means per 100. So this is 24 per 100. And again, you can see that right here. This is 2 decimal places, so 100. Both of these are divisible by 4, so we would get 6 over 25. And I do not believe that reduces any further. It does not. This would be 72 over 100. Both divisible by 4. 1 would be 4, 32 would be 18. Put that in the wrong spot. The 18 goes up here, the 25 goes down here, 100 divided by 4. This one, it's 8 over 100. Because again, that percent stands for per 100. So both divisible by 4, we get 2 over 25. This one is would be a little trickier to do straight from the percent because it would be 0.5 over 100, which doesn't make sense to have a decimal in the numerator. So what we need to do is look at it from this position. And so that's 5 out of 1,000. because there's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And then 5 divided by 5 is 1, and then 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. Here it is. We'll go in 2 times would be 10, and then those 2 zeros would be 2 zeros there, and you get your 200. On this, write each number or fraction as a percent, round to the nearest tenths of a percent if you need to. So to go from decimal to percent, we move the decimal 2 to the right and put in a percent sign. 2 to the right, put in a percent sign. And then I'm going to skip over here to 34 and do that one. 2 to the right and put in a percent sign. Number 31, though, is a fraction. So we can't go from a fraction. We have to find the decimal equivalent. Now, you may know the decimal equivalent of 1/3, but if you do not, we'll go in 3 times. That would be a 9. Bring in another 0 would be a 3 again. That would be a 9. Bring in another 0, and you can see we are getting a repeating decimal. And so we're going to move the decimal 2 to the right and put in a percent. And you'll notice here I went out 3 decimal places because I need to go to the tenth of a percent. And when I move my decimal 2 to the right, I need another number there. 41, 42, and 43, you're going to write an equation and then solve. So 35% is going to be written as 0.35 of A, of means multiply, is 70. Divide both sides by 0.35. And we're going to do the longhand over here. I need to move the decimal 2 to the right, so it's going to move over here as well. And so we will have 35 into 7,000. 35 goes into 72 times. And then these 2 zeros would give me 2 zeros there. So A is 200. What is 68% of means multiply 300? So we just need to take 0.68 and multiply it by 300. And I'm going to write that like this. There's my 2 placeholder zeros. 3 times 8 is 24. Carry the 2. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20, and I need 2 decimal places, so I end up with x is 204. What percent, so that's my x, of 80, so multiplied by 180, is 9, and is my equal sign. So I need 9 divided by 180. It will not go any there. Let's try 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. So we get x equals 0.05, but we need to convert that to a percent by moving the decimal 2 to the right and adding the percent sign. And then 45 and 47, calculating the percent of change and telling whether it's an increase or decrease. So the first thing we're going to do is 120 minus 90 is 30. And so we get 30, and it is a decrease. And then we're going to take, how you do this is the change divided by the first number or the original number. So we're going to have 30 over 120. I'm going to reduce this fraction to 1/4, which is 0.25, which is 25%. So I don't have to go into longhand division. 285 to 342. Well, I can answer that that's an increase without even doing any math. The number went up. Then I'm going to take 342 minus 285 to find my change. Notice here, on this one, I did 120 minus 90, and on this one, I did the second one minus the first one. You don't want a negative number. So just take the bigger one minus the smaller one. You're finding the difference between the two numbers. Borrowing there, I get a 7. Need to borrow here. 13 minus 8 is 5. So I get 57. So again, we take our change and divide it by our original number, which is 285. And it is numerator divided by denominator. I think that's 2. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17, carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So we end up with 0.2. Move the decimal 2 to the right and put in the percent sign. You end up with 20%. Moving on to 49 and 50, calculate the new cost. To do that, you take the original cost times the markup or discount amount. So that's going to be 5 times 0.75. 25, carry the 2, 37 plus 35 plus 2 is 37, and I need 2 decimal places. So step 1 is multiply. Step 2, add or subtract the original plus the markup or minus the discount, depending on which way you're going. So it's a markup, so we have 5 plus $3.75. The new price is $8.75, and my line did not get in my dollar sign. It made it look like 18. So again, same process here. The original times the percent, so 2 times 0.15, and that would be 0.3. So then we take $2 minus 0.3, and I'm going to need to borrow 0, 7, and so the new cost is $1.70. And again, the reason why in this one we added, it was because it was a markup, it was going up. And in this one we deducted because it was a discount, the price was going down.